It's a new day, nothing in our way. This is the start of something big.
Well, hopefully you are donning the green on this St. Patrick's Day. It's the one day of the year where everyone is just a little bit Irish.
Oh,
Even if just for the green beer and the corned beef and cabbage. But as much as we love to celebrate the day, there are plenty of interesting facts about the annual holiday that you may or may not know. Today we have the perfect game for St. Patrick's Day, and it is, we brought you celebrity historian Raffi Andonian to test us on how much we know about St. Patrick's Day.
You look good.
You would
Always
join in on the fun
styling.
with us as we play St. Patrick's Day fact or fiction. Take it away, Raffi.
Let's do it. I gotta have myself. Oh, of course. Even got you some St.
crack a
Patrick's
beer?
Day glasses there, if you
All right.
like.
Okay.
And gotta have myself an Irish beer to get started.
Absolutely.
All
A little
right.
Guinness or something there, a little ale. Good.
Guinness
Good
and
for
some
you.
others.
All right.
Match for your
All right, let's do
That's
it.
right.
Thank you.
That's
What do you
right.
got?
All right. Here's our first statement. Irish immigrants were not welcome to St. Louis, just like the rest of the USA.
True. Yeah.
You guys all saying true?
Yes.
Okay. All right. It is false. Believe it or not.
We're welcoming?
They were welcoming. There were some incidents. Don't get me wrong, like the Great Fire and the cholera epidemic were sometimes by some blamed on the Irish. However, it was very Irish friendly compared to the rest of the United States. It was known, as one historian called it, the chief Irish city of the United States. So believe it or not,
So was.
a special story here. Yep.
Good.
All right. Next one.
That was
Didn't
not the
start
case
out
in
very
New
well.
York City,
You're
though,
gonna need to.
right?
No, not the case in New York City.
Right.
And it depends on which wave you're talking about.
Okay.
So early waves of Irish immigrants were more welcome in the Northeast. However, the later wave after the potato famine was not so welcome, both in the Northeast and sometimes elsewhere. But in St. Louis, that second wave, more welcome than elsewhere.
Because we're good.
Second one, the first St. Patrick's Day parade in America was in Florida.
I'm gonna go with the collective.
Yeah, because you saw us, you
All right.
cheater.
I did
All right.
Yes, you did.
Was it in St.
It is,
Augustine?
yes, it is surprising, but it is. The trick is it's a Spanish colony. And because the Spanish colony, they're Catholic, there's an Irish clergyman there that does a St. Patrick's Day parade. The parades don't come from Ireland though. Parades are an American thing. Now the one you may be thinking of, since you mentioned New York, in New York, there is a St. Patrick's Day parade that happens more than 100 years later, though.
Okay.
And that is something that, of course, establishes a huge tradition and became a major political piece. For example, Missouri's own President Harry Truman would attend the New York City St. Patrick's Day parade, and it made it a very important political scene.
All right.
Okay.
All right, here's another one. The first native St. Louisan to become president of St. Louis University was Irish.
That seems very specific.
It does. So we're going to say yes. Ken says no.
All right, it is true.
Yeah, go us.
Remember I said
I
St.
thought
Louis
it was, but I wanted to be, I thought it'd be cool if I was the only one right.
Now, remember I said St. Louis was particularly welcoming or comparatively welcoming
Right.
for the Irish? Well, remember there's a French Catholic city, both Catholic, both don't like the English, French and Irish, intermarry, first St. Louisan, ends up as president of SLU, French-Irish, Catholic.
Okay.
Yep,
There we are.
makes sense, right?
What's
All
next?
right. How about the color green is traditionally associated with St. Patrick's Day? Here we are on green.
I know. I was like,
I'm gonna say yeah.
This better be yes. Damon says no.
I'm just gonna do a Kent.
It's almost like too simple, like, right? And you're right, that it is false. It is false,
We
believe
are
it or
all
not.
wearing green.
I know,
The
in
envelope.
Irish, it's a recent thing, historically speaking, over 1,000 years, only the last couple hundred years, that green is associated with St. Patrick's Day as a sign of resistance to the British, because the early Irish material and flags would actually have blue on there, associated with the English assigning it. And if you look at, there's early Irish mythology with a woman wrapped in a blue robe, which means Irish sovereignty. But when it got associated with the English, got thrown out, the shamrock became a symbol of resistance to the English, and green kind of overtook it, believe it or not.
Damon
Now,
knew all this.
Turned it
All up
on
here.
just today.
Impressive.
Now, speaking of the shamrock, of course, we had the shamrocks in here, right? And on the Lucky Charms. So one more.
Okay.
All right, one more fact of
Quick.
fiction on this. The leprechaun has its own holiday.
I'm gonna vote yes.
I mean, everyone else
It
has their
does
own day.
have its own holiday on May 13th in Ireland, believe it or not.
Really?
So it's not even really, we put it on St. Patrick's Day here, but it really has its own holiday. And believe it or not, its original color was dressed in red, not green.
Is
so
that
that's
why the
another
box
thing.
is red?
I know, maybe so. That would be
Crazy
great.
world.
I'm like,
What a
Oh
crazy
my
world.
gosh.
Ooh. Well,
A day of mischief and
I
humor.
quit.
I have to save this shirt for May 13th.
you know we love having you here. Thank you so much. Just ahead, I want you to go to historian.com. Of course, we're going to post this segment on firstalert4.com/mystl live following the show to see more Ralphie.